Well, welcome again to another edition of Christ and Culture. My name is Jeff Short, and this is Mel McGinnis, and we're talking about whether Christians can vote for Donald Trump or not. We're not talking at all in terms of whether a Christian can vote for Hillary Clinton. That's off the table. We're talking more in terms of can we in good conscience vote for Donald Trump.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, and again, what bothers me is when they cloak it in Christianity, that they say that this would be consistent with their faith. And to me, it just prostitutes our faith when they promote this kind of thing.
Well, that's what Obama said as far as the LGBT agenda. He says, I think of the words of Jesus, do unto others as you would want them done unto you.
Yeah.
In other words, would you like somebody to stop you from doing a lifestyle activity that you want to do? Would you want somebody to step in and say, no, you can't do it? No, but what about all the other moral commands? Would a drug addict like someone to step in and stop them from taking the drugs that will kill them? No, they wouldn't like that. But maybe intervention is needed. Mm-hmm. That's what intervention is, stopping someone from doing what would kill them.
Right. And why does government have to endorse what they are doing? Why does government have to give them special rights? And this is what he's doing.
The whole agenda.
Yeah. So this "do unto others" verse that he prostitutes,
yes,
is a ruse. I mean,
it's an unbalanced presentation of the teachings of Jesus in the Bible.
Exactly. And I know they go after Donald Trump when he said like his favorite verse was "eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth," but at least, again, I don't feel like that's not as bad as that is, as what Obama has done with using the words of Jesus to promote evil.
Oh yeah, it's just an agenda, and Hillary has promised. She said in a Planned Parenthood rally, she said religions, beliefs will have to change.
Yep, right.
So she has an agenda that she understands is contradictory to Christian morality, and she feels that Christian morality must be the one that changes.
Yep.
And so she has no qualms with changing public Christian expression of morality, and she'll do it.
Yeah, and I think she'll do it in the name of her Methodism. That is, she grew up in a Methodist church, and I'm sure she would say this is consistent with my Methodism.
Yeah, liberal Methodism. She'll do it in the name of liberal Protestantism.
Yeah,
and they'll support her.
Yeah,
liberal Protestants will support her. Now, we looked. My biggest fear is like the one you just said, that Donald Trump would do something crazy if I would vote for him. I would empower him to do something totally disastrous, like nuke a nation like North Korea because he got tired of their leader, or he got a personal fight with the leader of North Korea, and so he says, I'm tired of arguing with this guy. Let's send the nukes over and destroy their whole country. I don't think he would actually do that.
Right.
I think that as a businessman and as a person who deals with international money and everything, I think he realizes that would be totally disaster.
Right.
And I don't think he would do that. But then again, there's always this question, what would he do if he really got mad and he got into a tit-for-tat fight with some world leader? Would he push the button and instead of sitting down calmly and talking?
Right. And it's interesting as you bring that up, you can't help but think that when it comes to Donald Trump. And then on the other hand, with Hillary Clinton, she would do something secretive and dubious, like with this Iran deal.
Yeah.
To me, it just raises so many red flags when you think of all the money that was involved and how that money was transferred to get to Iran.
Oh, yeah.
So there again, you see the problem we're in as voters. Trump, you have this in the back of your mind, he's going to be a loose cannon.
Yes.
Hillary definitely will work behind the scenes in an evil, conniving way
and possibly
to undermine our
100 times
country.
worse.
100 times worse.
Donald Trump would do, but yet publicly she looks good because it's all done behind the scenes.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Donald Trump, you kind of feel like you know what you're getting.
Yep.
Because he just blabs and talks so much.
Yeah.
He's going to tell you and brag about what he did. Hillary is going to work behind the scenes, won't tell you most of what she's doing.
Yeah, right.
Whether it's rigging the stock market or, possibly even, hiring assassins or whatever. She will do whatever she needs to do. She's that cunning.
Yeah.
So I think Grudem in his original article said that there's always a risk when you elect anyone, and you really don't know how they will act until they're actually in that position. But he felt that the risk in electing Donald Trump was not as high as some people are thinking that it will be. And one of the comforts I have is that we do have checks and balances. If Donald Trump were to be elected and go off the reservation too much, we do have Congress. We do have ways to impeach a person.
Yeah.
We do have ways to check and balance the executive branch. And if he surrounds himself with good people, this is an important point. In the last month or so, he has been surrounding himself with people who are conservatives, real conservatives. If you look at, he's formed advisors who, his campaign advisor was from Breitbart Online. The woman, I can't remember her name.
Kellyanne Conway?
Kelly,
Yeah.
And some other people that are really giving input to Trump. And he's going to, if he relies on people who are conservatives, then maybe he will not be as radical or act, in a flippant way or a radical way that would endanger our country. I don't think his advisors would allow him to do something. But as you said, if he's an autocratic person and he basically decides, if he decides to do something, it doesn't matter what anybody says, that could be a factor.
Yeah.
That is a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I really think he made a good decision in nominating Mike Pence for vice president. And to me, that's a check right there.
Yes.
And the people that he has on his advisory boards, like with regard to Islam, foreign policy, I think they're pretty good, like Waleed Faries and other individuals he has, I think, that are helping him with economic policy.
Yeah.
So his advisors are far better than what Hillary Clinton has.
Oh yeah. No question. And now, in respect to Hillary Clinton, there was a Christian author, Philip Yancey, I don't know if you saw that article, where he wrote that he was totally flabbergasted by Christians supporting Donald Trump. He says, here is a man that's been married 3 times, who has profanity, and who boasts, who is materialistic, and on and on. He said, how can Christians get behind this man? And I answered that question by saying, you're ignoring the other candidate. How can a Christian vote for Hillary Clinton? Pro-abortion Hillary Clinton, pro-LGBT Hillary Clinton, pro-transgenderism Hillary Clinton, pro-progressive, anti-Christian, all these things. How could a Christian vote for Hillary Clinton? So what Philip Yancey failed to do in his article was mention anything about the other alternative. So if you just look at Donald Trump, you're going to go, yeah, why would a Christian in good conscience vote for Donald Trump? Well, if you only look across at the alternative, you will find the answer to that. I don't know any Christian who actually thinks that Donald Trump is an ideal candidate. Do you?
No, I don't know of anybody who would say that. And for anybody who would say that, we would say that person is as loony as Don Trump is with his character. I know of nobody who says Don Trump is the kind of character candidate we need. And yet, I feel like there's people who say that Hillary Clinton is honest and trustworthy.
Yeah,
Give
we
me a
talked
break.
about, what did we talk about, that Rachel Held Evans article saying why she, as an evangelical, quote, put that in quotation marks, evangelical Christian, she is urging people to vote for Hillary Clinton. And all of the convoluted thinking that goes into that. And you know, I think we concluded in our discussion last time about that is that if you vote with your feelings, and if you go on the basis of touchy-feelyism, you will say, well, you know, she's just got so much experience and I feel so good about her because she's been in politics a long time and she is a woman and we can make history here, you know, vote the first woman president, wouldn't that be great? And you're like, wait a minute, time out. What about the Christian worldview? What about the things that are important to us? Like respect for human life, respect for marriage, and so on and so forth. What about those things? You have to sort of put those things off to the side and ignore everything to even consider. And we concluded, if you remember, that no, Hillary Clinton is not a real potential candidate for Christians to vote for, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't see. This is where I would agree with Trump. You've had 30 years of bad experience. Not just 30 years of experience, but 30 years of bad experience, including with that bad judgment, including with that a person who has enabled her husband to mistreat, abuse, and sexually commit crimes against women.
And then vilify the women.
And vilify the women. Yeah, right.
Exploited.
Right. So how can you even consider casting a vote for Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, so that was out on the table. So no evangelical should even be thinking in terms of Hillary Clinton. You know, if you're an evangelical Christian, Bible-believing Christian, you're thinking, even toying with the idea of voting for Hillary Clinton, get that out of your mind right away. Just get that out of your mind.
I don't even see
where that out.
Where from
in Jesus' name?
Yeah, where from Scripture can you get justification for voting for a person like her?
Yeah, and I think some of the criticism, when you hear criticisms of Donald Trump, don't take that to mean in any way, shape, or form that we are letting Hillary Clinton in a better light. No. When we criticize Donald Trump, we're criticizing him as a man. But we both, I'm pretty sure at this point, totally reject a Democratic candidate for the White House. Even Tim Kaine. If you look at Tim Kaine and you look at what he has said publicly in the last few weeks, first of all, he says that he used to think that so-called gay marriage and same-sex marriage was wrong because of his moral convictions based on his teachings of in his Christian church. But he says now he's changed and he believes his church, the Roman Catholic Church, will change too. Yeah. And he's urging them to change. So he's taking politics and he's saying, okay, I'm coming to my own church and saying, you got to change for political reasons.
Yeah, what a sellout.
What a sellout.
I mean, we don't need more people selling out. I'm just so surprised that somebody who claims to be Catholic, when the Catholic Church has really been on the money when it comes to pro-life issues, the sanctity of human life, and marriage, would take a position that parrots what the Obama administration and Hillary wants. And when we looked at Tim Kaine in that debate, you could see how much Hillary Clinton has already affected him, because Tim Kaine was obnoxious. And when you think of obnoxious, you can't help but think in private. What is Hillary Clinton like? I mean, you just hear stories circulating that this person is very difficult to live with when you talk with Secret Service personnel.
Yes.
How they couldn't stand being around
She has
her.
two faces. One is public and smiling and tries to be nice. Even that public persona is harsh,
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah.
But when you get behind the scenes, it's going to be really bad
Really? Yeah.
for the people who have to work for her if she's elected as president.
Yep.
And her views and her policies will even be worse than her demeanor.
Yeah.
But so Tim Kaine is a sellout.
Yep.
He totally rejects the teachings of his church. He says, well, privately I'm against abortion, but then you can triumph the Planned Parenthood agenda if you're privately against the killing of babies. It's a contradiction. It makes no sense.
I can't stand that two-faced approach.
Yeah.
Like Hillary the other night in the debate was wondering, well, why do you have this private position, and yet in public you come across as a different person? And then she tried to cast blame on Abraham Lincoln, and Trump came and really got her on the debate last
Is
night.
that right?
How can you blame Honest Abe for what you are trying to do, and you didn't want to make that known?
Blaming Honest Dave.
Yep.
Wow. I didn't see that. I didn't
Oh.
hear that. I didn't watch the debate. But so when we criticize Donald Trump, we're not putting Hillary Clinton up there as a potential candidate. No way, shape, or form. She is totally disqualified herself. What we're talking about is, can a Christian in good conscience vote for Donald Trump, knowing his character, knowing his language, knowing his views, and all these other things? Well, Wayne Grudem gave a glowing endorsement of Donald Trump a couple months ago, but now he's changed because of what he's read and heard of Donald Trump in private conversations about women and the way he talks and the language he uses. But the question we have is, does that qualify Donald Trump from getting our vote? And I don't think it does. I don't think that his private locker room language necessarily disqualifies him from getting the Christian vote. Now let me ask you, since you haven't decided which way to vote, and I actually haven't decided firmly, but I'm kind of leaning toward Trump and you're leaning on a third party. Would you in any way feel that you are not doing what you could to oppose Hillary by voting a third party?
I don't know. That's a good question. The way I've been looking at it, if people were to say, well, what do you really believe? Well, I prefer Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. No doubt about it. Mm-hmm. But is Donald Trump the one I really want? Absolutely not. And I think all of us would agree he's the one we don't he's the one that we don't want. It becomes a matter of, can I cast a vote for Donald Trump that's for him rather than simply against Hillary? If I'm voting for somebody just to be against somebody, I question that in my own mind.
Right.
Because am I really voting on principle? And that's why I really consider Darrell Castle, because he's right down the line what I want in a candidate.
Right.
Everything when it comes
Yes.
to the moral issues, national security, tax policy. He's got it. He understands it. But he's just so unknown that nobody will really.
So his
give him
chances of
consideration.
actually
Are
winning
no.
are zero.
No, zero. Yeah.
Okay, now, Wayne Grudem's latest article, the one he wrote less than 24 hours ago, saying that that he calls upon Donald Trump to step down. He says that he feels that Donald Trump has basically disqualifies. It says, but if Trump refuses to withdraw, where does that leave us? So he's asking for Donald Trump to withdraw, which raises an interesting possibility. Let's talk about it. In Mike Pence's debate the other night, a lot of people started saying, I'd rather have him as president.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, do you think that there is a possibility, even at this late hour, that Donald Trump could withdraw and Mike Pence could be the presidential candidate on the Republican side?
I wish he would. I would be right on the bandwagon for Mike Pence. I would make that known publicly. I would be enthusiastic, energetic about it because Mike Pence is a believer first.
Yeah.
And he has his priorities right and correct. And you know that he believes them.
Yes.
And I really feel comfortable with a candidate like that.
Yeah. I mean, even if ultimately Mike Pence loses in a close race or whatever, it would be worth it almost to have Mike Pence run instead of Donald Trump. Just so that Christians don't have to feel like they've sold their soul.
I know.
Just for expediency in politics. I mean, there are Christians. Now, Philip Yancey's article where he says he's flabbergasted at Christians just enthusiastically endorsing Donald Trump. And I agree with him in the sense that if you're a Christian and you're just enthusiastic, like the president of Liberty University, Jerry Falwell Jr.
Yeah.
I mean, this man actually is trying to build a case for Trump's character and trying to say that this is really a good guy and, the press has gotten it all wrong and everything like that. And he's actually, and this is who Philip Yancey was criticizing, those kind of Christians who are actually, from all intents and purposes, are sellouts to Donald Trump. They're basically throwing everything behind him, getting behind him enthusiastically, defending him at any turn, whatever. I'm flabbergasted at that too, because I've always said, and you've always said, that when you look at Donald Trump's character, doesn't seem to be a whole lot of good stuff to get behind there. But people like Jerry Falwell Jr., to some extent, Dr. Ben Carson, I'm a little shocked how enthusiastic he was.
Yeah.
And Ted Cruz did reluctantly in the last month or so say, okay, I'll get behind him. It's interesting. George W. Bush, they haven't gotten behind Trump.
Right.
And there are some very solid conservative voices. It just can't go there.
Yeah.
Paul Ryan is kind of like walking the fence.
Yep.
He doesn't know what to do. Okay, I'll vote for him. Maybe, but the situation, though, and I would ask Dr. Grudem this if he were here, does the recent revelation about Trump's language and his views at that time toward women and some of the other material that has come to surface, does that really change your argument, Dr. Grudem, that much? We have a flawed candidate, no question about it.
Yeah.
I guess the flaw goes deeper than you thought originally. The moral and spiritual immaturity and so forth goes deeper than Wayne Grudem thought originally. But does that really change the equation that much?
Yeah, right. Jeff, I think you're right. When you step back simply from what was heard on the tape that came out, when you see it in its larger context, as you said before, this is who he is.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid there's going to be other things that come out. Decisions about him should have been made a lot earlier.
Yes.
Because when you would hear he goes on Howard Stern and other things that he said in public.
Yeah.
Right there, that red flag was indicating to us.
Yes.
There's some serious issues here that
Yes.
people need to take into consideration.
Yes.
So this one tape that has surfaced only reinforces those suspicions that we've always had.
Here's what Grudem says in his recent article. Some Christian friends tell me they can't vote for either candidate because they think that voting for either one is compromising with evil. They say that we must absolutely repudiate Donald Trump in order to demonstrate every Republican voter in the nation that evangelicals will never support a blatantly immoral candidate. and if one is ever nominated in the future, he will lose the evangelical vote and lose the election. I respect that argument, and because of it, I am not now sure who I'm going to vote for. I absolutely will not vote for Clinton. I'm hoping that Trump will withdraw.
That would
So
be
he's kind of saying, I think he's not saying Pence, but he's kind of looking at, boy, I hope he withdraws, because Pence would then have a pathway to the presidency. And I think Pence just might win. Because after all of this Trump, you just dump all that Trump baggage and you put Pence up there, and there's not enough time to even build a lot of criticism against Pence. So it could be a good strategy. But he's saying something that I said a long time ago. He's saying what I said a long time ago, and that is that if evangelical Christians keep on accepting whatever the Republican Party throws at them as candidates and saying, well, see, he's better than the Democrat, and see, he's better than the Democrat. We just keep, we're going downward.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and you can go downward to the very bottom that way. I mean, just as long as our guy is a little bit better than the Democrats, then the Christians are supposed to just blindly follow that guy, and well, you know, if we don't vote for this guy, then the Democrat will win and it'll really be bad. Well, at some point you have to say, look, we're not going to play that game. We're not going to keep voting for candidates that are flawed like this. So you've got to give us some good candidates to vote for. Now, Mike Pence would be that good candidate, and
he would.
I hope that something happens between now and the election that somehow or another Mike Pence actually gets to be.
Yeah, I mean, that would be ideal for me. I would say that would be an amazing thing that would take place for Trump just to withdraw.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh, yeah. Grudem goes on, he says, there is also an argument on the other side. This election is more than a choice between two candidates. Americans are making a choice between two very different political parties, two very different views of government, two very different Supreme Courts, and two very different futures for our country. One of them is much more consistent with the biblical teachings than the other. There are enormous differences between the candidates and the two parties, differences that I still think have a great significance. So he's saying, hey, I'm not saying I'm not going to vote for Trump here. The differences concern not only Supreme Court, but also religious freedoms, abortion, gender identity regulations, rebuilding our military, protecting us from radical Islamic terrorism, securing our borders, supporting Israel, reducing taxes and regulations so the economy will grow and create jobs, increasing school choice, reforming healthcare, allowing wise use of all forms of energy, reducing racial animosities, and many other issues. These differences will determine the kind of nation we leave our children and grandchildren. So, he is not saying that don't vote for Trump. Grudem is just simply saying, I can't positively endorse Trump the way I initially did, because I've learned more about his character. It doesn't say, well, when push comes to shove, yeah, I'm going to vote for him or not vote for him. He's saying simply, he's walking back his glowing endorsement that he gave months ago.